everyone, and welcome to Hot Topics. I'm always on Mondays, so I have to play catch up, and I never get to address what was said or done last week. So I want to address a couple of things before we get into this week. First of all, Marie, oh my God, Savannah was so right. I love your accent. I just love your accent. Also in your video, you talk about a couple of things that I totally agree with, and I see that you had a rather rough time as well. And especially going to another country and trying to fit in, learning another language, trying to fit in with the culture and everything. And being by yourself, you really had a tough time, and you survived. You totally survived. You show that you have strength and love and compassion and perseverance, so I commend you. And again, I just love your accent. To Savannah, you know what? I saw your video, and first of all, yeah, you was not the only one that had technical difficulties. And so I have to say thank you for verifying the account. It's like we have teamwork and we're working together. It's like what you miss, I get. What I miss, you get. And we both kind of cover each other's back. So it works out for the whole channel. And so I had to say thank you for that. Another thing is, I have to say happy birthday. My days is Monday, so I'm going to miss your birthday. So I just have to say today on my day, happy birthday. And I already knew your birthday was coming up, but in any case, just know that I'm thinking about you. I'm sure everyone else is, and I'm going to really tell you that you have to have a really good day and take lots of pictures. Post the pictures on Facebook. I want to see them, and hopefully you'll take a few videos and post that as well. The other thing is you showed that you made like a little notepad to put everything on there so that you don't forget. I thought that was a really, really good idea. So I made my little notepad with everything I wanted to comment on. And one thing you asked was, because my older sister, I won't say her name, but because my older sister was sort of an outcast and had to deal with family rejection and ridicule, she had a real tough time. And because she's the oldest and firstborn, she encountered everything before myself and my other sister. So I kind of took example from her and knew what to do and what not to do. You asked, do I still talk to her? Of course. Just because my family kind of outed her or outcast her doesn't mean I held that against her because of other people's opinions. Honestly, my sister lives, let's just say she also lives an alternative lifestyle, and I'll leave it at that. She lives an alternate life, and she basically has this I don't give a fuck attitude. It's my life. I'm going to be me. Whoever don't like it can fuck off. And basically, you know what? I take example from her, and honestly, she's right. She's 100% right. And you only get one life. You have to be you. You have to live for yourself, because at the end of the day, while other people are stuck in their misery, you have to go home and be happy with yourself. So yes, I do keep in touch with her. In fact, I talked to her just 2 weeks ago when I first moved into my new place. So speaking of that, I probably need to call her and say hello. As far as does she know about my transition? I think she has some sort of idea, and if not, seeing this video, I'm sure she knows now. But in any case, does she know? I believe she has a clue, but we have a mutual respect for each other. What you do in your life, in your household, is your business, and what I do with mine is my business. And so I don't disrespect her and intrude on her life in her house, and she would do the same for me. So we are siblings, but we have sort of a mutual boundary or respect for each other. You know, I don't cross a certain line and neither does she. So it's pretty cool. You know, we have a mutual respect for each other, and for what it's worth, I love her to death. She has her life, I have mine, but we try to stick together, and throughout the years we've always bonded. And the other thing you asked was, oh, you made a comment about the term baby crossdresser, and that's the first time I ever heard that term. When I was, oh my God, when I was in my young 20s and I started experimenting with my feelings and trying to understand who I am, when I was in my quote-unquote crossdresser days, or when I was trying to figure myself out, I never heard the term baby CD or baby crossdresser, so you definitely taught me something new. I'm learning so much, and thank you for that. The other thing is, you talked about raising kids to be more open. That touched home quite a bit. I have kids of my own, believe it or not, who are right in the next room. So yes, I raised my kids to be extremely open. And as far as like my nieces and nephews, I haven't seen them in so long, but they're like in their 20s now. So it's a growing battle throughout life, and we'll see what happens. It's unfolding day by day, and I don't know what's around the next corner, but I'll have to make a video on my own channel about that, and I guess I'll address that when it comes. Let's see. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say to Maria and to Savannah, if you have any friends that want to join the channel, that would be really cool. I don't want to make this too long because I want to get into this week's topic. I guess the LGBT centers. You also made a comment about the LGBT centers, and honestly, I'm going to have to address that on my own channel because, like, I have a lot of deep feelings about that. LGBT. In a lot of places, the T is sort of silent, and the LGB doesn't really associate with the T, and the T is kind of their own universe, their own world. So being transgender and being on hormones now for a year, over a year now, I have strong feelings about that, and I'm going to have to address that on my own channel. So with that said, I love you all, and on to this week's topic. Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's Hot Topics. This week's topic was picked by Marie. Her topic is, how do you think that misconception and generalization are most widely spread? Have I ever been victimized by it? And have I as well have preconceived ideas? And as I become aware of it, how do I deal with it? Okay, first up, how do I think that misconception and generalization is spread? To me, two things. One, ignorance, and two, gossip. Ignorance is basically when you don't know the true story about something and you basically just go with the flow. You go with what everyone else thinks. You don't care to dig far enough into a subject matter to find out what the real story is. You just basically say, okay, this is what everyone thinks, so this is what I'm going to think too. You know, when you generalize things, you can end up being an ass. You know what they say about assumptions? When you assume things, you make an ass out of you and me. I don't assume anything. And because I'm a Virgo, you know, I love to dig, I love to explore, I love to research, and I'm sort of the most inquisitive type of person you're ever going to know. I'll ask 1,000,005 questions, and no matter how many answers I get, I'll go about it 3 or 4 different ways, and I'll research, I'll Google, I'll do all kinds of things. So misconceptions and generalization, that's something I've dealt with all of my life, especially being who I am. I mean, I've dealt with it more than anyone. I've had a lot of people give that to me as well. As a matter of fact, just last night, I was having a 4-hour conversation with someone who knew me in a past life, and they kind of had this idea about who I was based on what they saw from the outside, but did not take the time to really get to know me inside, which also put a lot of pressure on me back then because I was so young and ignorant. I was like, I gotta be who everyone wants me to be, so that if they're happy with who they see, or if they're happy with the idea of who I am, they will leave me alone. They won't bother me, they won't question me, they won't harass me. I don't have to deal with answering things. I dealt with that so much. But you know what? Eventually, I got tired of it. And sad to say, it took me until my mid-30s to finally get the courage to do the one thing I should have done all along. I finally had the courage to say, fuck it. And I don't care what anyone thinks, I'm just going to be me. The problem is, in doing that, a lot of people were lost in my transition, which is perfectly natural. We all deal with that. When people know you in a certain way, they just look at you and say, oh, that's who you are. Okay, that's who I know. You can look at a book and say, I know what that book's about. But until you open up these pages and start reading and say, oh, now I get it. Until you get to that point, you don't know what that book is about. You only see the cover. Myself, I've dealt with misconceptions and generalization to the point where I had to do certain things in my life to fit other people's idea of who I am, basically just so I can survive. And that's pretty sad. Actually, that's pretty pathetic. But you know what? Eventually, we all come to a point in our life when we're like, you know what, enough's enough. I will tell you what worked for me, and don't read too much into this because what I did is not for everyone. But let me tell you what I did. I basically packed up and moved to an entire different state, an entirely different city and state. My theory was, I'm going to go where no one knows me and I don't know anyone. Clean slate, start from the beginning, just be myself. Whoever meets me gets to know me. Whoever doesn't know me, I don't care. But when you grow up in your hometown and people who knew you from school, people who work with you, family, friends, neighbors, people in your neighborhood, when they all know you in a certain capacity and what family you come from, it's kind of hard to break that mold. So one of the things I did early on in my transition was I moved to an entirely different city and state and redeveloped who I am. I guess I shouldn't say the word redevelop. I basically peeled off the mask and just let the real me come out and say, this is who I am. Take me as I am, love me, hate me, whatever, but this is me. And eventually I got to the point where I was able to relocate back, and even in my home state, I'm in like a totally different city. And I'm able to just be myself in my roots, in the place that I know best. Now, one by one, I've been kind of getting to know people and reacquainting myself with people who knew me from a past life, one by one, to give them an individual way of getting to know me and who I am, and not who they thought I was from before. So the other part of her question was, have I felt victimized by it? Victimized is an understatement. I'll address that on my own channel. Have I dealt with preconceived ideas about other things and other people? Honestly, yes. And in doing that, I took the time to dig to get answers. At least I did that. Not everyone is like that. When I see things and everyone just says, oh, that person's bad, or oh, that person's this and that person's that, you know what I'll do? I'll actually go and talk to the person privately, one-on-one. I'll get to know the person and decide for myself if everyone else's preconceived notions is correct, or if they're just ignorant bitches, which is pretty much 9 times out of 10 what it is. The last part of her question, to wrap this up because I don't want this to be too long, is how do I deal with it? Well, I just said I would talk to the person. I guess it would be good to talk to some people, but not everyone you can talk to, because some people just don't want to be bothered. And I also found that in 2 cases I actually know personally, I also found that some people let you believe something about them to keep you at bay, to keep you from bothering them. Like people let you think, oh, they're so mean and they're so evil and they're so this and that, just so nobody will bother them, which gives them peace and quiet, and is exactly what they want. They don't want to be bothered. So they lead you to believe certain things. So you got to be really careful with that and take it on an individual case-by-case basis. And when someone doesn't want to be bothered, leave them be. If someone comes to you and say, you know what, I'm not as bad as everyone says, let me show you who the real me is, that's when you do one thing that you really should take value to: shut up and listen. That's when you find out who people really are. And that's why on my own personal channel, I haven't done any videos until now, because after I shoot this, I'm going to shoot another video, and that's going to explain a couple of things as well. And I also want you to do one more thing. While you're watching this video, take a good look at my face. You'll find out more on my channel right here, and you'll find out why I just said that. Anyway, to the rest of the girls on Hot Topics, I love you all. Thank you for watching. I'm sorry my video was so long, and also last week my video was so long it didn't even get to YouTube. I had to put it on Blogger, but the videos are posted both on YouTube and Blogger, so you'll see more of that later. Anyway, love you girls. Bye-bye.